Okay, so here we are with our Cosmobiology Institute research meeting. We now have two meetings, one on the East Coast of the United States, Eastern Time. One meeting is on Sunday mornings at 8 a.m., and then we have this meeting at Monday evening at 8 p.m. It's our new attempt to reach most of the world. We had a good showing of people yesterday, and it looks like we've got a handful here. So it looks like this is going to work to have the two meetings to accommodate people living in different places. Um, First thing I want to do is have Angela share her screen, or I guess you're already a host. And she's going to share with us a new, before we get into your topics and questions, and if you have topics and questions, um, go ahead and start putting them in the chat, and I'll start looking at that because we didn't receive any ahead of time. I've got some things we can talk about. But before we get into our discussion, Cosmobiology Institute, we're constantly innovating, adding things, expanding. It's getting to feel really exciting. Things are starting to happen. And Angela just set up an online collaboration. So this is in networking and discussions. And this is for anybody interested in evidence-based astrology, interested in research, critical assessment of ideas. It's open to the whole world um, to participate. The focus is Todd's already got a question. Let's have Angela show us a little bit about it. She's opened it up, and you can join and become a member, and it's free for everybody to participate. So we're really building this global community of people who want to evaluate to see what rules in astrology really work and how they work. So Angela, show it to
Yeah,
us.
so this is a platform called Go Collab or Collab. I just, if you didn't see the link in the reminder email about the research meeting, I just put it in the chat so you can join from that link. So the idea is that we wanted to offer a place where people can collaborate with research ideas or just share their contact information or projects that they're working on and so forth. So I wanted to walk you through this so that you know when you sign up, like kind of how this is set up. So when you first log in, it asks you some questions and has you sign up, set up a bio of yourself. It's a brief bio, and you don't really even have to put anything when you first sign up. You can go back later and input stuff. But you can also put in things like your LinkedIn page, your Facebook page, any kind of social stuff that you're doing. You can put that in so people can follow you on those areas. So once you get in, this is kind of what it looks like. You will be able to see on the right, there's some links. So we will post like different links to events and stuff that are coming up. At the very top here, this menu bar has, if you go to our events page, this is the calendar. So this is going to show all of the meetings and conferences that we have planned throughout the year. So you're able to have a calendar in your time zone. So it'll transfer to your time zone, whatever you put in there. I know that's important for a lot of people. Yeah, Penelope, who reminds me every time I don't send links out to the calendar. So we have him right here, Penelope. I was thinking about you. So on this calendar, I mean, this is filled in like through the rest of the year. So the things that we know about. So this will be updated. You'll also get reminders. Yes, if you come to the Monday meetings, you're still going to get reminders about the Sunday meetings, but that's just part of it. So also on this page, you can access different members of the group, kind of see who they are. You can send chat messages to them if you'd like to speak one-on-one. Also, yeah, so this is just like the home page when you come in. So just kind of going down this list, these are things they call channels, right? So a channel is basically like a discussion board. General announcements will be under here. There are some group rules to follow. It's basically the same things you're going to follow in any other group. We don't mind you sharing if promotional things as long as it's related to the mission of CI and what you're doing. For example, I think Nelson shared his software on somebody's post because he was asking about that. That's totally fine as long as it's related to what we're doing, but no general spamming or anything like that. Then I kind of treat the channels as like from general going down to specific. So the first tab is just general discussions, things that you can post that are just for an overall audience. Then research discussions. These are kind of quick posts, things and ideas that you've had, or maybe obstacles you've come across while you're doing research that you would like other people to either help you on, or maybe they can comment on something, or maybe you had a big win and you just need a place to share it. The research discussions channel is a good place to do that. We just put this in today, the research interests channel. And the idea for this is kind of what was discussed at the research group meeting in February. So, Santino, I would like you to kind of talk a little bit about what this is going to be set up for, since you
Yeah.
have a good idea.
Yeah. So, and as Angela just said, we just created this 4 or 5 hours ago. So there's nothing in here yet except the title and the explanation. Probably by tomorrow, I'll put my information in. What it is it's a place for you to share what is your interest in evidence-based astrology. Research, evaluation of ideas. Where What are you interested in? What do you have to contribute? And that way, anybody can go in here, browse through people, and they can say, "Oh, wow, this person's a therapist, and they're interested in researching emotional and mental disorders, and I would like to help them with that, or I'm interested in the same thing, or whatever." So it's a quick way to see who's doing what are you interested in, and it really doesn't matter whether you have huge amounts of expertise or whatever, just share who you are. So it's going to give us a way to find out what people are interested in. So it's not a general biography, like I don't want to know about everything you've done, just what's relevant to this. So I'm excited about this particular part of this just this collab.
Yeah, so again, it's post what your areas of knowledge and expertise are, what you would like to participate in, or if you need, let's say, a pool of participants for something you're working on, this would be a good place to kind of mention that in here too.
And let me mention one more thing about it that some people don't completely realize. There are so many kinds of research. Not only can you research any area from psychology to mundane events to whatever, but so many research methods, different kinds of quantitative things, data exploration, data visualization, um, qualitative studies. So because it's such a rich area, each person brings something different in terms of what their interest is and what they can, what knowledge and expertise they have.
Right. So under that is where we're going to be posting the research meeting agendas for each week. Um, so you'll see I put in today's agenda, and that's just kind of like ideas and stuff of topics that have come up. So if you click on this link, and there'll be a link for each month, it's going to take you to a Google Sheet page that has a couple tabs over here. So this is helpful because you can take the agenda or whatever is put here. If you go to File and Download, this will allow you to download it in multiple formats. So if you want to download it as a Word document, PDF, and maybe take notes during the meeting or however you'd like to work that, that's there for you. You can't edit it inside because this is it's a populated document that is updated in real time. But feel free to download it over here or make a copy. And then we're going to post the replay links for the meetings on this tab also. So if you go to the replay links tab, this will have the YouTube video link so you don't have to search out the channel or anything like that. So Sunday's meeting is already posted, so the link is there. And then we'll include today's meeting underneath it sometime tomorrow, probably.
And also, I want to remind people that the agenda for the research meeting is up to you. You submit what topics you're interested in. If you don't submit them ahead of time, of course, you can bring them up at the meeting. But we do
Which
them in the
brings me
order that
to
we
my
get
next
them.
channel. That's right.
Yeah.
So this is where we would like for you to post your research meeting ideas and topics. So it's right underneath the monthly agenda. Feel free to post so that everybody can see it. If you don't want everybody to see it for some reason, you can send me a chat direct or still use the same email to email that over. But this way, it can kind of stay posted and we can all have access to it rather than having the delay of sending multiple documents and so on. As we have more things and more stuff going on, we'll just be adding channels to this and also kind of updating some of these tabs and everything. I guess I get a gold star in the leaderboard for posting the most. So if you would like to use your little competitive edge here, you can join the leaderboard and get a gold star yourself. So if you have any questions, it's pretty user friendly. I would say the part that's probably the hardest to get used to is how the Google Sheets thing works. Because you're going to want to like download it and edit it, and you can't do that. You have to definitely go to the file, download, and then you download tabs and stuff. But that'll just take a minute to get used to. I think that's all. Does anybody have any questions about this? Oh, when you first join, it does ask you a question about tell me something interesting about yourself. That's just so we know that you're not a robot or somebody joining that, that we don't know. Feel free to share the link with your colleagues or anybody who wants to be involved. And I think that's it.
Okay, no questions about it or ideas?
Thanks for the applause, Penelope. I appreciate that.
That's impressive. Looks really well organized. Thank you.
Hopefully it will be a good spot for everybody to share and collaborate on for sure.
Okay,
There you
we're
go.
good. I think we're ready to get on to the topics that your in questions you have. And I've just noticed here some new ones just popped up here. Okay, let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen so I can make little notes that we can all look at. Okay, one other announcement. The conference is coming up very soon in Nashville, Tennessee. You go to cosmobiology.org for the information and to register. It's getting exciting. We're getting into the details of it now. Okay, and also if we finish all your topics and questions, there's something I can present. I just want to have something to get into that's kind of interesting if we run out of material that you guys want to bring up. So what I saw in the chat, first thing I saw from Ton is there a place for currents in VA now, in addition to vibrations? Now, that's a good question for my personal YouTube member meetings on the first and third Tuesday. Is that related? But here is this research meeting. Ton, is that directly related to research in some way, or is that better to bring up in the member meetings for VA, my member meetings?
In some way, it's related with research because if you have only, let's say, two or three planets connected and remote from all the other, and they are connected with two lines, and they are not considered as vibrations in VA, then there is no place for currents or channels, and we have circuits, but those are not all defined in terms of vibrations. So Um, I was looking for is there a place for currents? Look at the sea. At the surface, you have vibrations, waves, and there are currents. So something can be the same in astrology. That there are both vibrations and current patterns. So
Yeah. So right now in vibrational astrology, which is, the part that's derived from harmonic astrology, we really just have the idea of the vibrations. I'm
yeah,
trying to think if we have some kind of idea of, like you say, when you look at the ocean, you've got the surface where the waves are, but then you have an overall current underneath it, I
yes.
think is what you're getting at. And so it's a very clever idea. I'm trying to think if there's anything we have that's, well, there are some ideas that are similar to that. For example, um, suppose, well, let me just call up somebody's chart. What was I doing here? Okay. Um, I'll just pull up Tan's chart. So Tan, what's a fairly low vibration where you have a large aspect pattern? Like something below.
And a lot, 78, 79 is
Anything lower
the
than like 20? I can just do let me just pull
lower than
up.
20. Let me see.
Well, let me just look. In your five vibration, we can just pick this
Yeah,
one.
five is all. Yes, five also is the lowest one with.
Okay. In your
Yeah,
five vibration, you have a Venus-Pluto conjunction trine Mercury.
yeah,
So there's, a vibration of Venus-Pluto in five, and then Mercury joining in five times three.
yeah,
So the vibrations um, kind of merge into each other. They're overtones. It's like a three overtone from Mercury. Now, if
yeah,
I look at the 15 vibration, which pulls in this overtone of Mercury, I may get additional overtones. I may or may not. I don't know.
yeah.
I'm going to look, and I'll tie this back to currents in a second. But if I go to 15, that overtone of Mercury is going to join the Venus Pluto.
Hmm.
So now we have, there it is, the Venus Mercury Pluto, and it trines Uranus. So what we get here is you get an overtone of on five, of five times three, and that overtone comes from Mercury. And then you get an overtone on top of that.
Yeah,
And by the way, just to give you some appreciation for this idea of overtones, if you play the note A, sing the note A, play it, suppose Penelope sings the note A and somebody plays it on a saxophone and somebody plays it on a guitar, they're all 440. They're all the same frequency. So why does Penelope's voice sound different from a trumpet, from a saxophone, from a guitar?
yeah. Because of the overtones.
The overtones, because when you play the note A or sing the note A, it's actually not one vibration. It's not like we were, we're always told like this note is 440, but actually it's not just 440. There's not just one vibration. It's multiple vibrations, and the overtones typically are integers, simple integer numbers above that. So my
Yeah,
voice, for example, might have, I don't know, like a 440 times 2 that's strong, 880. It might have a 440 times 7. Yours might have a strong 440 times 5. It's exactly what we do in vibrational astrology. It's these overtones that give the quality. And just to tie this back to the currents idea, let's follow this. In 5 vibe, we have a Venus Pluto with a Mercury making a 3 overtone. We go in to look at the details of that, and now we find Uranus making a 3 overtone to these. So there becomes like a sequence of related vibrations, which in a way creates something across the charts. It's not as simple as just saying 5 vibe, 7 vibe. They actually, the vibrations actually flow into each other and there becomes a theme. So what we see the theme in Tan's chart, 5, which is play and creativity, 3, which is seeking harmony. You start off at 5. He's passionate about play and creativity, and he's got this overtone of thinking about it. Mercury, we go to that overtone, and now we pick up a Uranian overtone. Well, Uranus in 5 vibe is very creative, very free flowing. So right away, we can see that this person is passionate about ideas that are innovative. And the higher the frequency, the more internal it is. It's like at a more level of the nervous system and the endocrine system and less in the external behavior. So it won't tell us as much about his personality, but his thinking is very passionate, creative, and inventive, which obviously it is. You don't have to know Ton for very long to find that out. So that in a way is a kind of current in the sense that there's a flow from 5 to 15 to 15 times 5, which would be 45, etc. Um, that's the only way that off the top of my head I can think of anything related to a current. And that's not maybe exactly what you were thinking of current, but it's the closest I can get to it.
Okay,
Can
thank
I
you.
mention an idea?
Yeah, Penelope.
Yeah, so at the moment, we're kind of very two-dimensional with our astrology, which is necessary. I mean, the mind boggles with what we can work out just on a piece of paper. But I'm thinking that vibrational astrology can be viewed geocentrically and heliocentrically. It can be viewed from outside the solar system. And as soon as you start thinking in larger dimensions than on a piece of paper, then the idea of a current is not too disturbing. It boggles my mind to think about the maths that would be involved, but hopefully AI and everything in the future will introduce an ability to do that. Thank you.
Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant. Anywhere where we have this like holistic complexity reminds us of like the ocean and the currents through the ocean. So definitely a connection there. Yeah, so we're covering theory. Part of research is what's your theoretical framework? And so these are sometimes it's fun to explore possibilities and ways of thinking because it can open up a new way of perceiving that can become the basis for research. Okay, so that's response to that. Are we good, Ton and everyone? We go on to the next
Yes,
topic.
please.
Okay, great. Let me go to, I copied the next one in here. Um, where to go? iCloud versus external SSD. Okay. Um, so when you have a lot of data, a database, it's got to be somewhere. And now, hard drives used to be physical. Now they tend to be they call them static hard drives. They're faster. And then you can also have data on a website. If the website is shared across different servers and managed by the server, that's sometimes called a cloud. And then the cloud just means a network of uh, servers on the internet. And in this fancy software manages and pulls together all this information from different servers, which means that's why AI, for example, is so powerful. And even just a Google search, because they have all these computers that they can go to and extract from. It's really mind-boggling. And then the one that Apple created, they call iCloud, is where things get stored. So it's, one brand of a cloud. Now, the answer to this question is going to depend on what kind of database you're talking about or what kind of information and what you're trying to extract. For things that are spontaneous, like you're just thinking of things and you're needing to reference material outside of what you have, that's always going to be some kind of internet search, um, and has to exist on multiple servers typically. But if you have a well-defined question, you have your data set, maybe you're researching volcanoes and you have all the volcano information that you can download onto your hard drive, your SSD hard drive, locally on right there. Um, one of the advantages to having it on your computer is first of all, you're not dependent on the internet, and which can fluctuate at times. And the other thing is it does tend to be faster to have it right on your computer right there. You're not competing with anything. And it's just kind of handy and secure to have it there. So, I mean, the big advantage to having things on a on the internet, whether it's just one server or multiple servers talking to each other, which we call a cloud, is you can have enormous amounts of data and you can be pulling data from different databases and things like that. But typically, we like to download everything onto your system. So, for example, I'm working now with um, athletic performance and had to write some pretty fancy software which ChatGPT really helped me with to download this very precise batting performance. We have the actual batting performance down to like 10 to 15 minutes of when somebody hits a home run. But after all that data is gathered, collected, integrated, and put together the way I want it, it's not going to be on a cloud. That you put that on your computer because it's fast, it's assembled the way you want it, and you would have to reload it back somewhere. Why would you do that? So I don't know if I'm answering your question at all. Maybe I'm just blathering. So, but Penelope, is this any of this related to your question?
Yes, it is. I was just sort of thinking, they're building these great big kind of memory banks all over the world. And just in terms of like environmental impact as well, are we better off just keeping our information, which is, peculiar to us, separate rather than it joining the throng of, of information
Yeah, I don't know
circulating the
anybody that
globe?
recommends putting your data on a cloud. If you've got your data, like you have a CSV file and it's getting imported into something, you've organized it, you're much better off in general having it right there in on the SSD. And the amount of data that you can store on your hard drive is pretty mind-boggling, depending on the situation. Um, so I don't know anybody in astrology research who's going to blow out because you can have millions of data typically on your hard drive without any problem. I mean, it depends on how much, how many fields you have. I mean, if you, et cetera. But I don't know of anybody who's run out of problems. Sometimes there's memory management problems with the software. The hard drive can hold more than the software knows how to deal with. But that's a particularly was a problem with R because what R does, the statistics program, is it loads the entire database into working memory, which makes it lightning fast, but working memory smaller. But now they've overcome that problem by reading in sections, and they've built intelligence to do it. So yeah, no, you just use your hard drive, for what you're doing. That's what just about everyone does. If anybody knows something in addition to what I'm saying, because I could be missing something or overlooking or misstating something. Does anybody have any additional information on this? Um, yeah. Richard, if you're talking, you're still muted.
There you go. All right. Um, when you buy iCloud space, um, it's relatively cheap. I have 2 terabytes that I only pay about $10 a month for, and I use it to back up my machine as well as I have my own backup device. And because I've burned myself before not having a secondary, place where I can store all my data. So I just I had to really, well, I had to contact Apple and all kinds of stuff to recover things. But for me, it's a safety. It's a good safety.
Right. So I'm glad you mentioned that, Richard. For backup, backup is extremely important. A lot of people back up onto the cloud, and lots of companies, everybody offers a cloud backup, automatic backup, and they're ones you can purchase for any device, whatever. But some form of backup so for that it's really important. I was thinking just more of your data analysis, is nice to do on your computer, but you need to back
Right.
up somewhere. So
It
yes, thank
does.
you for mentioning that. So for backup, a lot of people are using, a cloud. If you're using Apple products, very often it's iCloud. Um, yeah. Have we answered your
Thank you.
question, Penelope? Any other thoughts about this?
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
good.
Can
And
I
that's,
say
yeah.
something? Can you hear me? It's Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa.
Hey. I think it's important to have both, to have 2 external hard drives, because I've experienced where hard drives corrupted and I lost everything. And it's so much easier just to have it attached to your computer, and you can set it up where it automatically updates. You don't have to remember to do it. It'll just do it on its own. And then have the cloud as your like a backup for anything you just don't want to risk ever losing, and it's there and you can connect to it from any device. But the downfall to that is I used Snapfish. It was used to be owned by Kodak, I think. And I lost 20 years of my family videos because I
Ah.
put them all
Oh,
on
Ah.
Snapfish. And then Snapfish decided they don't do video anymore, and I can't access it. They're there. It's horrible. I log in and I try to click it and I can't watch it. And so yeah,
Wow.
that was a really painful lesson about the cloud. And the cloud can be really expensive too, and you don't have control over it.
Right.
So,
Right.
so I think,
Are you Lisa Eisenhower?
yeah.
Lisa,
How are
oh my
you?
God, it's been years.
It has. Yep.
I didn't
Nice to see.
recognize your face, but when you started talking,
Recognize my voice.
yeah.
So
Yeah, so good to see you. Well, I'm glad you shared that because I had a similar experience with cloud backup where the cloud lost my data. Um, and I don't know why it lost it, but it did. And I don't remember which cloud service I was using. But fortunately, being paranoid, I back up onto my own X. I have 7 hard drives on my table. Here they are. Here's one of them, one for
yep.
each day of the week. And every evening when I'm done, any folder that I've been in, I back up that whole folder onto this called generations of backups. So, if one hard drive goes bad, you've got the previous one. That's what they do on the cloud, is they have multiple backups in case something dies. But yeah, I just feel very, and I've gotten burned once. I'm trusting my life to the cloud, and everything's run by human beings and machines, and so I don't know. I'm a little extreme. I like being able to see it and control it, but the convenience of the cloud just automatically backing up is great, and normally it works fine. Um, but you got really burned. Wow. Okay,
Yeah, it was
so
tragic.
yeah. Okay, so this is good discussion because, our data lives somewhere and we have these choices. Okay, let me go to the chat. I didn't copy and paste the others and see what else you've got in the chat. There's more questions. Um, chat. There you are. Okay. Is there, I'm going to copy and paste the question so we can all see it. Um, Another question about vibrations. Um, and we like to keep the meetings to every form of astrology, um, not just focusing on vibrational, but is there an overview of all vibes with a solid description? Can new updated versions be shared, at least on a regular basis, say every 3 months? That's something we need to talk about. I think that was from Ton. Yeah, it is. Linda Berry is working on research. We need to do something like that. We don't have it right now. Um, we need to bring that up in my meetings with Linda there and start discussing having automatic updates. That's not in doesn't exist yet, but I think we need to have it. Um, okay, next question from Kai. Let me copy and paste this. Okay. I'm currently I'm currently doing a group research project where we are interviewing subjects. The group of people could also be potential subjects, but I'm wondering if that would have potential pitfalls since we have designed the study and the interview questions. Um, okay, so Kai, let me make sure I understand this. You have like two phases to the research, is that it? And you're using people to for phase one, and you're wondering if you could use them in phase two. I'm not quite following.
The group of researchers, we could be the subjects. We won't
Oh,
fit the criteria. And we're kind of refining our interview, practicing with each other, that sort of thing, you know. But it came up of, do we use this data or not?
right.
Because we all designed the research. So, is that a conflict or not, or how do we handle that?
It's a conflict. So, it also depends on what your goal is. So, for example, if I'm developing some ideas for myself and I feel like, you know, let's say I'm in your situation where I've got a group of astrology researchers and we're developing this and we have it, and then we say, well, let's interview ourselves. We're right here. It's convenient. Let's get this started. I personally may feel that, it's not biasing anything too much. It's going to be fine. But if you're going to share it with anybody else, in a people trained in research methods academically will not pay much attention to it because the bias of your subjects is huge. I mean, they participated in creating this thing and now they're going to respond to it. You want to have people that have as little information about the astrology behind what you're doing as possible. One of the criticisms from non-astrologers of a lot of astrology research is when you do things like sun signs, even moon signs, even rising signs, a lot of people already know their rising sign nowadays or moon sign. And they actually answer the questions according to the description that the astrology tells them. In other words, if I have moon in Libra and then you ask me, do you like to talk and are you social and do you compromise? I say yes, because I've learned to think about myself that way. So you want to separate out what you're evaluating from the astrological variables related to it, as much as possible. And so this would be considered to be not a good study because the subjects are biased in their responses. The word bias, by the way, just to make sure everybody understands, doesn't mean like bias in normal language. It means the tendency to answer a certain way because of certain conditions that are not related to what you're testing, right? So when you do surveys, the way you ask the question will change the results, even just changing the wording a little bit. you're asking the same question, but people, in some research, they found that people are more likely to say yes than no. So if you ask a question where yes is indicates something, you'll get more people agreeing. Things like this.
So
So
they've been pre-trained or preconditioned.
exactly.
Astrology is about. They know the doctrines or the principles of
Yeah,
classical
exactly. And what they
astrology.
put into professional assessments, like if you've taken a psychological assessment for extroversion, introversion, they have questions in there that are like dummy questions to see if you're just answering the same way. They have ways of evaluating people not being sincere and clear about how they're answering, things like that.
Mhm.
Um, so there's all kinds of problems with way people respond. So Kai, does that answer the question or did I go off base?
Yeah, that answers the question. There's just been a lot of debate about how we should go about this and what
If
the
you
goals are
wanted to,
and that sort of thing. So I'm just kind of, you know, looking for the pitfalls and the big dangers in doing interviews to collect data,
yeah,
that sort of, and working in groups and all of that mess.
right. Well, if you want to present it outside of your group of people to show them what you found, that using the developers pretty much destroys any confidence in your results. But if you're using it for your own interest to build a model that you can then test in a more formal way, it's fine because you can do anything for yourself you want to. But it's not, I can know something for myself, but if I'm not following proper procedure, people have to trust my intuition or my, and that's not
So,
part of the deal.
so we could use each other as subjects, collect the data, and then build a model, and then go do the testing and not use ourselves in that second phase.
Right. Yeah, you can use
Yeah.
yourselves to get, to get some idea, but also do not be surprised if it completely falls apart when you use other people.
Right.
The tendency to bias is it's mind-blowing. I mean, it's like you can't believe it. For one of the best examples is the placebo effect. The placebo effect is often stronger than the drug or whatever you're giving the people. If you tell somebody, take this and your energy will pick up in within 3 weeks, guess what happens? Their energy picks up, doesn't matter what you give them. So people, the power of your mind, the power of nonverbal communication, the power of agreeability, of all these things is so much larger. It never ceases to amaze me how we will make sense of things that have nothing to do with what we're experiencing. Just because there's been tons of research, for example, that if you have a male client treated by an attractive female doctor, guess what the healing that happens and the satisfaction is very high. Same thing with female patients with an attractive male doctor. And it's also same sex, but not as strong. So, if you feel better you can give the same prescription from different people, and the prescription works better depending on how much you like and are attracted to and feel good about the person treating you. They've done research where if you change your voice to be a little rougher, the treatment doesn't work anyway. It goes on and on and on and on. So this is why research methodologists, when you have problems like that, we just dismiss it like it's not worth looking at. Um, yeah, but you can build it for yourselves as a model. Um, but again, I would say don't be surprised if it worked well with you and then completely doesn't work with others. But on the other hand, if you're aware of what's going on, it can be convenient and fast to get
Can
started.
I can I say something?
Yeah.
So I think it's good to flag it. Like go ahead and fill out the survey and do it as a pilot, like David was saying, and then just flag it. And then you can, when you do your analysis, you can see like if your results within your group differ significantly from everyone else you surveyed. But another thing though also is it's important to have a random within your target population if you're trying to do inferential statistics and use that sample to generalize what's happening to the overall target population that you're representing. It's important to have a randomly selected sample and not have like otherwise you're going to have that bias and it's not going to work out and it's not going to be valid. So yeah, I think it's good to keep it and you can refine it and understand it better and you can maybe do it initially before you submit it to your I don't know I don't know how large this is or how you're going to find your people, but if you do it internally and kind of work out all the kinks, then it'll be better. It'll be ready to go for the real survey. But that was
Brilliant. I'm so glad you shared that, Lisa. Brilliant. Because, it's not enough to just select people who are not familiar with the astrology behind it and so on. There's a big issue is the sampling methods. Let me also say that no research is perfect, but if you know what the goals are, you can strive to get to them. Um, in research methods, we define what the population is, what sampling method you've used, and this stuff, Lisa's done, professional research, and uh, any of us who are involved at a professional level or trained academically, we all talk this way and we all feel this way. So, 100%, this is all true. And I'm glad you mentioned it.
yeah, small but representative sample is
For early stage research to improve your model, sometimes a small sample is a bit better than a big one because it's realistic. You can't do that much work. But if you sample properly, and you've taken care of other possible issues, you have something that's essentially exactly what you'll do in a full-blown experiment, just on a small level without
well,
compromising.
what I'm saying is like a small but representative of your true target population is
Right.
better than getting a really large sample that's not representing your true
Oh,
target population. So like it's the size doesn't matter as much as the accuracy of accurately the group of people that you select represent the people that you're trying to make inference about to the larger population. So if
yeah.
it's like the I'm trying to think of an example. I don't know what your research is about or if you want to share it, but
I don't know if I can
oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
because it's a group, but I,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah. So a lot of times you have a minimum sample size that you need. Depends on what we call the effect size. If it's small, then you need a larger sample. But very often you need at least 30, 40. Sometimes you need hundreds to detect something. But if in creating that larger sample size, it's not representative of the population that you're defining. Population means who does this apply to? Very often in astrology, you know what the population is? Everyone. Male, female, young, old. But when you do things like career, and you say who's going to be, a musician, a painter, whatever, well, that doesn't apply to children, at least, not clearly. Maybe it does. But anyway, defining who you're talking about, under what circumstances, these are all things that in research are very important. Um, because some things work differently under different cultural experiences and things like that. So just being clear about what your theory is. Like if you say Leo is proud, in general, we mean that applies to anybody. It doesn't matter if they're in China, it doesn't matter if they're in New York City, it doesn't matter if they have a 200 IQ or a 50 IQ, they're proud. So, but we have to be clear about who we're applying this to. Um, that's the population. And then the sample is the people you're looking at. Okay, I
Thank
think
you. I appreciate that. I do kind of have a follow-up question.
yeah,
You mentioned
good.
the studies about, attractive doctors and that sort of thing. We were thinking about having multiple interviewers. Would that be, we were thinking it would, provide various different perspectives, but also would that be too many variables, or like we'd have some interviewers who would build better rapport with the volunteers?
What you can do is you can see if there's a consistent, if the data is similar for the different interviewers. So, like if you find that 60% of the people, let's say it's introversion, extroversion, 60% are extroverted when Joe interviews, and only 40% are extroverted when Sally interviews. And then you notice that Joe is, kind of upbeat and he draws that out of people. And, the other interview, so you can see if they're getting statistically similar results. And if not, you're seeing probably an interviewer effect. And if you're getting similar results from everybody, from all the interviewers, then there's not a big interviewer effect. But you can look at, what percentage fall in different things depending on the interviewer. And then you can also see, are they interviewing from the same, if the sampling method is the same for all of them, like if you have 5 interviewers and you just do them in order, first one goes to A, B, C, D, and you go around, that's a random distribution of who they're interviewing. Then you should get similar statistics for all the interviewers. So you could see if there's an interviewer effect. Lisa.
Yeah, I would collect that as a data point, like David said, and then also have the interviewers follow a script where they say the same thing in the same way to each person to help minimize the bias that they'll represent just through their personalities. I mean, the
Yeah,
personalities, of course, are going to be different, but you just know that they're in the train it, like where you guys practice together and to make sure that you're asking it the same way. And I think that'll help too.
that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I'm so glad you're here and mentioning these things I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. But yeah, having the interviewers be as uniform as possible will reduce interviewer effects. When you hear this stuff, you go, "Oh yeah, well, duh, of course." But then you don't think of it, and then you don't do it. Um, yeah, so that's a good one.
Great, great. Thank you both. I appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome. It's cute. Lisa knows me as David. Did you know I changed my name?
I'm sorry. It's written right there on the screen, and I totally forgot.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
it's totally cool. It's totally cool. It's just kind of cute. Um,
Sorry.
yeah, no, it's fine. I don't mind. All right, so okay, we covered that. Where am I? What's our next question? Oh, I want to get to the chat. Um, so Lisa, you attached a chat GPT answer. Where did you attach it?
It says a Word document right above the. It's
Oh,
showing
okay.
up on
Oh,
my
so you put
tab.
right in the chat. Oh, nice. So in the chat, Lisa put a Word document answer to your question. That's fabulous. So if you
But
go to the chat,
it didn't really cover what we just discussed though
all
either.
right, but it covered
But
some things. That
a couple, yeah,
okay. All right.
in a more
Well,
vague way.
yeah, that's nice. Thank you. All right, those are all the questions I see in the chat. Um, any other topics or questions? I do have some material in case we ran out of stuff that, just so we're not empty of ideas. But yeah, there's research is a massive thing. So any other topics or questions? No? Uh, and if I missed anything in the chat, let me know. I might have overlooked something. Okay. Do you want me
Santino,
to tell? Yeah, go
I
ahead.
can share something that I've been doing with my students as a first entry level type of research that we're doing. And I say entry level because they've not done research before, and I thought it would be something simple. Is we're looking at the Saturn-Neptune conjunctions within a 1 degree orb, even if they're not exact. Like last year, they were within 1 degree, but they weren't exact last year. They were only exact this year. And we're looking at headlines of newspaper articles going all the way back to the 1800s, the latest one in the 1800s, and we were compiling newspaper headlines, and we were looking at them. We were going to see if they had Saturn Neptune flavors, the energy of Saturn Neptune during those times. And then what we were going to do for a control group, because of course that's important too, is we haven't gotten to this part yet, but we were going to take dates that were not the Saturn Neptune aspects at all. And we were going to take headlines from that and use that as a control to see if we still see Saturn Neptune in times that there's not. And these are like global events, and we're not picky, we're not choosing the headlines, we're just looking up the headlines that were popular on those dates. So I just wanted to share that because maybe there's somebody has some wisdom to share with me or thoughts to share with me about this, and how we're doing it.
Yeah, this is exactly why we're meeting. This is wonderful. That's a wonderful question. So I think everybody followed Starlene very well, and I've got a few things. I'm sure Lisa and some of the rest of you might have a few thoughts that come to mind. One of them that comes to mind for me is you're looking at when Saturn and Neptune are within 1 degree, and you have written down these range of dates. So you've got these range of dates, and you're looking at the headlines. This is where research methods people are so much more finicky than everybody else because we get burned all the time. You constantly get a little sloppy and everything falls apart.
Yeah.
So one of the questions is how do you select popular headlines?
We're using different AIs. We're using Claude, we're using ChatGPT, because that was a question that it's me and two of my students. And so it's just the three of us, but that was a question, like, how do we know which ones to use? So we're using Gemini. So we're using 3 different AIs.
And so the wording of your question to the AI is something like, what were the most popular headlines on a particular day or the range of dates?
The
How do
range
you?
of dates. Yep, the range of dates. And then I was going to narrow it down to 1 degree, and then I was going to narrow it down to 30 minutes to see if there was something more, I don't know. So we were just kind of exploring and trying. They were wanting to get used to what is this research like? What kind of things can we do? So I thought, well, Saturn Neptune just one conjunct as we started the research, and I thought that might be fun for us to kind of look at. So that's
So
where that.
Wonder,
your
yeah,
question to the AI is something like, we don't need the exact words, but it's something like, what are the most common headlines from April 15 to July 3rd, 1940 or so, whatever. I'm just making
Whatever,
it.
yeah, whatever the dates are, yep,
So your
exactly. What are
question is something
the
like
headlines?
that.
Yep,
And
yep.
then the AI, it probably might be a little bit different for each one of the three,
They are a little
but
different.
how do you ask it for a certain number of headlines or?
Right. We did. We each for each one, and sometimes there was only one conjunction. Like we had one exact one this year, and then last year we had it was like 40 minutes or so in the summer. So I did include that time period. So for each one of those time periods, we were looking for at least 100, maybe more. If we could get headlines that were, and they're everything that's in a headline. We're not asking it to be specific about what it's choosing, because then it could just pick out what we're looking for, right? So
Right.
we were asking
So,
about headlines in general. And this is where we're at in it, because we've been doing this for a few weeks. Every week we've been meeting to do this. So we haven't got to the point where we've figured out the ones that look Saturn, Neptune, and the ones that don't, but we haven't like done
okay,
anything past that with it yet.
this research is extremely prone to selection bias,
Yeah.
extremely prone. So what you need to do to prevent selection bias is you need to write down exactly how you phrase the question
Mhm.
and have is similar to what Lisa said about the interviewers, giving them a script. Like I'm inclined, just off the top of my head, to say something like, what are the 10 most, give it a number. And
Okay.
maybe that number is a percentage of the number of days that it was within 1 degree. So if maybe you have one headline for every 10 days and you round it off. So if it was there or 5 days, whatever feels right to you based on what it tends to produce. So you would say, what are the 10 most common headlines from April 15 to July 3rd, 1940? And I guess you're saying, in news media or something like
Right.
headlines where in newspapers, what, so you have to specify.
Right. Right.
So,
And newspapers, and then the more recent ones online, because in 1917 they didn't have online,
but
obviously. So
you have to have absolutely clear defensible rules.
this is part this is where I was starting to think too. I remember the research that Vincent did when he took the words and used the words, and I thought, well, maybe that could be helpful too, is using the words of the headline, if they're Saturn, Neptune or not, or something like that. I didn't know if that would be smart. So then it's less
Well, before we get to
bias.
that, I want to just underscore this point before we get to that the exact wording and the consistency of the wording, like
Mhm.
it might be good to let the AI decide where it gets the headlines from.
Yeah, we don't tell it
Okay.
where to get the headlines from. We just want the top headlines for
Okay.
those
So
things. I
what
can tell you
you,
the question. I just don't know it off the top of my head.
okay, but it's something like this. So the exact wording and then peer review is a good idea. In other words, you can bring it to these meetings and everyone
Yes,
can look
that's
at it
what
because
we plan
different
on
people
doing.
can pick up different, subtle ways that it may not
Yep.
be representative. And also, again, you have to have crystal clear rules for how many you're asking. It can be a percentage of days. It must be consistent, for all conditions. And
Mhm.
then, you save those results and then you save them for the control dates. And now we get into the issue of data analysis. But first, I want to make sure the procedure.
Right, and that's where we're at
There's
still.
also another bias involved, which is that as you're developing this, you're finding certain terminology that works, you're testing it out, and that, like you might be saying, oh, look at this. If I ask in this way, it gave me all these Saturn Neptune things. Therefore, this must be the right way to do it. And then you use that for your test. So
Yeah.
you end up using your procedure as a basis for what you then later confirm. And that's almost unavoidable. So the way that we get around that is use, and maybe probably not too late. Hopefully it's not too late. All of us, and myself included, have burned myself by going too fast. Um, but what typically you would do is, let's say you have 10 time periods when Saturn Neptune is conjunct and the number of days varies. Use one or two of them to build your procedure and do not even look, you know?
I knew that part, and so we were only collecting data for like the last, we did it 3 weeks in a row just to collect the data and then verify it, but not to analyze it at all. That's all we've done is just making sure, because we're having ChatGPT give us the date, the title, the link, so, and then like a summary of the article. So we have that in a spreadsheet, and then we're just going
Yeah,
down
but
and
as
verifying
you
all of it.
as you develop the wording of the questions and everything, you're getting responses from ChatGPT. You're seeing how many it produces. You're seeing what works. All of that development of your procedure based on how ChatGPT and should we use Gemini or not and what works and blah, blah, blah. You need to go through that. I just want to make this clear. If you use any of those dates in your analysis that you use to build your procedure, that will tremendously lower confidence in your findings. So you have to be studying those dates and the responses in order to build your procedure. And therefore, you need to take some small percent of the total number of days, use that to build your procedure.
Okay,
And you
I
can
see what
be
you're
as
saying.
you can be completely quote biased as you want to. Like if you worded it a certain way, you got better responses. Fine. That's
Right,
the
right.
data that you're using to build it. Then the other dates that you have not looked at all, that's what you use. So you need to pull out
I see what you're saying. So there's two groups and what you're saying. So there are two
a
groups with
small
that.
group to build your procedure.
Okay,
And you do everything no holds barred. You do whatever you want. You can say, "Oh, if I ask this way, I got answers that I want." That's fine. That's not cheating. You're building your procedure. What's
right.
cheating, and it's very hard to do. Like sometimes it's like somebody who loves chocolate and there's chocolate right there. It's like, you have to like slap your hand. Don't cheat. It's a temptation. I mean, it's a serious temptation to not like peek at some of the other data. And
I
so
see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
So a
That's
lot of
right.
sometimes with research, it's not about just being a good nerd. It's also about how much integrity and honesty and willpower do you have? And, a lot of professors have gotten into trouble for putting their hand in the cookie jar. It's such
Yeah.
a temptation. And then they say, oh, my graduate students did it. Well, they should know not to do it, who are collecting the data. So I'm just saying this is also a matter of self-discipline and
Hmm.
focus.
Hmm.
Um, like I myself in my research, I'm fanatical about this because I know that as soon as I peek at that cookie jar, I'm contaminating everything.
Yeah, yeah. I remember that's been said, throughout CI and everything for years. So I did know that, but you're
Yeah.
right. You don't want to spoil it for yourself, and that
Yeah. And
definitely something
sometimes you
I
don't
will.
realize these issues. You don't realize these issues until you do it.
Right, exactly.
Until you go out and you play golf, you don't know how easy it is to slice it into the woods or something. Like so a lot of these things you learn by doing, and
Hmm.
taking classes will never completely teach it to you. You have to like get in
Right.
there
You have to do it.
and see how much willpower it takes in certain situations and whatever. So yeah, but other than that, I think your procedure is very good. And
Hmm.
um, there's a devil in the details, we like to say, like it depends on exactly how you create the control group, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's a lot of, we can get into all that tiny dot your I's, cross your T's level, but just on basic principles,
Hmm.
this sounds like a great research project. And counting words is a great way to do it because you can download this stuff and
Yes.
you can tell the AI to count how many times words appear.
Right.
Then
That's what
again,
I
it
thought was
depends on
interesting.
how much you're building the model and how much you're testing the model. Because if you pick the words before you look at any data and you say that words like spiritual is a check and this word is a check, if you make the list before you analyze any data, then you'll have much more confidence in the results. But what happens in practice is as you do the research, you'll see words that are Saturn Neptune that you didn't think of. So what you can do is if you specify everything ahead of time, you test that, and then you can state in future research, we should also add these additional words. So you segregate out what you've made a clear test of and what you've learned from doing it.
Hmm.
What people who are not trained in research methods do invariably is as they learn, oh, we need to keep that word, we need to keep this word. Oh, I didn't think of that. And then they put that in their results.
Yeah, and then
No,
it's not
no, no,
fair,
no.
right?
What you do, you still can do that, but you do it as what you learned from the procedure. So it takes a lot of patience because typically a research project is done and then new data is collected and it's done again and it's done again. And each time you learn what could have been done better. But segregating out what you learn and not including it in the analysis is really important. And you can say in the conclusions, if we had included these words, we would have gotten a much better result. So next
Oh,
time, that's what
yeah.
we'll do.
That's good. That's good to know. Thank you for that. That's good.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
yeah.
I'm looking at the um, Saturn-Neptune conjunct within 1 degree orb, and it's saying that it can last 6 to 11 months because of retrograde. Are you looking at the headlines for that full time or just the peak
Six,
date?
six
It
months?
says it says 6 to 11 months.
What?
Who's this?
I'd have to look at the dates to tell you that to
You're
tell you.
using an AI, Lisa?
I don't
Yeah, I
know.
put
I
in,
don't think it's 6 or 7
Because
months
the
that
AI
I
is not very good
remember.
with planetary calculations.
Let me tell you what I can tell you the dates that I have because I've them all written down here. I just have to find them. So the one for this year is February 7th through March 4th, which is a good bit of time. That's why I thought maybe narrowing it to a 30-minute orb too. The one that was in near conjunction was less than 1 degree from June 9th to August 23rd. That was last year. Prior in 1989, there was 3 hits. It was November 13th was the exact one. That was October 26th to November 28th was the span of 1 degree. Then there was June 24th was the other exact one, and it was May 30th to July 15th. And then March 3rd was the first one in 1989, and that was February 14th to March 25th. So it's about a month and maybe a month and a half, depending on which one. But we went all the way back to, like I said, the early 18 or the late 1800s, the last one that happened then. So there, yeah. So
this
the
one,
one,
so okay, sorry.
You should be able to go into any software, if you have SolarFire, whatever you're using. I'm looking at it in Sirius
yeah,
right
I
now.
use the Sirius software to check
Yeah,
it, and we
and
double
it
checked
it
it
will
too.
it will tell you. I mean, I think it's better to use
Yeah,
an astrology software because AI is notorious for making mistakes with planetary calculations. Apparently, some of the platforms are starting to build in planetary calculations, but some of them will tell you, I don't have an ephemeris and I'm approximating it or whatever.
in
Um,
Yeah, in 1953, which was the one prior to 1989, it was April 23rd to August 2nd, and there were 2 exact hits because of the retrograde cycle. So maybe that's what the AI is saying to you. Because that was April 23rd to August 12th. So that was a longer period of time. But the other ones were all a month or a little around a month, all the other ones, all the other cycles. It's just that one.
right. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So you're using software to calculate, and that's the best way to do it. And it's not going on for 6 months. It's going on for, what's the longest time range? Do you have that in front of you?
The longest one was the one that had two exact hits, and it was within 1 degree orb from May 17th, 1953 to August 12th, 1953. And then sorry, it was April 23rd, 1953 to August 12th, 1953. The
So your
two dates.
longest time period is about 4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
And that was way back in 53. All right.
Right. There was a
Okay.
lot going on there too, like from what we were just looking at, because we were just
Yeah,
starting
so
to look at the
that's reasonable.
schedule.
Lisa's question is very good because if something's staying in orb for like 2 years, like whoa, a
Yeah.
lot happens in 2 years.
Yeah.
But 4 months is your max. Plus, you're going to also do a 30-minute study, and that's going to
Right.
bring you into a shorter time period. So, yeah, it sounds reasonable to me. But I have the same instinct Lisa has that if the time period's too long, there's too many different things happening. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, if AI is going to pull out the what it thinks is the biggest headlines. I mean, it sounds great. I like the counting words and maybe listing the words because that's simple, direct, quantitative. Otherwise, you're going to sit there with a lot of subjective evaluation, and that's really messy and time consuming and not very reliable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would it work if as a control for since I mean what the news headlines said in 1952 are going to be so different from what the news headlines say today? Maybe make the control like 1950 November if the whatever month the conjunction was in 1953. I don't know if it would be the a month before that or maybe that
Oh, I
same
love
exact
that
date the
idea.
year before and the year after it so
Oh,
that you're still in that same range of the era and the kind of news they presented in the same time of year to see if that the conjunction date pops out in each instance
I love that idea.
is having similar headlines.
Vincent Godbout did research on time of death, and what he did is he took the time. I don't know if he did before or after. But I would do both. Like if you have say 30 days that in a particular year that Saturn Neptune was there, I would do 15 days before and 15 days after. Or if it's
Hmm.
easier for the I would just do 30 days, say before or after. Maybe I would I don't know. I don't think it matters, but I love that idea. That's brilliant. So
But it
make the
still seems
control
like
period contiguous, right next to the time, because the news headlines should be, they will be very similar, and if it can distinguish between those, that gives us huge confidence that it worked.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I was thinking about that. That makes sense. But what I was thinking about was just finding a time that was the same season, because it could be seasonality as well. But one that was no aspects with Saturn and Neptune, so that there was no like trine or square or something. So that was hopefully not a Saturn Neptune time. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But that makes sense to do it if it's before, or just after to
Well,
see
what
what
you could
happens.
do is that's a good point. You could see if you can get the software to do like a 3 degree orb
Yeah. Yeah, I can
conjunction,
do that.
and then use the edge of those dates so that it's going to
Yeah.
be it'll be like 2 to 3 degrees away, which
Hmm.
should be different from within 1 degree. It's now moved a few degrees away. So maybe instead of contiguous, because then it's still within orb 1 to 2 degrees. But if you get a little bit further out, but as close to that time period, the reason that I like the same time period is because so many things are coincidental.
Yeah.
Like the Saturn Neptune, if it happens, 1 year and then 8 years later, maybe wars happen to break out. You're going to hit incidental coincidences
Hmm.
of things. Whereas if you're very close to it, you're in the same kind of events are happening. Like right now, there's several wars going on. If they end, or the theme of those wars changes, that conjunction should pick up the change during that time period.
Yeah, that
You
makes
know,
sense.
since you use the vibrational astrology framework and we use small orbs in vibrational astrology, if the Saturn Neptune is 2 to 3 degrees away, we think of that as different. Now, if you use a more modern psychological approach and you're using 10-degree orbs and you don't think it makes that much difference, you'd have to go farther out.
Yeah, it's a VA, they're VA students, so
So they're
they're,
VA students, so
yeah, so
we
they're not
tend to
working.
think if Saturn Neptune is 3 degrees away is a whole lot different than within 1 degree, which works nicely for this research.
Yeah, and we were thinking about taking it to the next level once we get this part done and looking at vibrations and seeing if there's themes there too. We were talking about that. So it's possible we could look at that same data in different ways. So maybe we'll do that too.
I was poking into the 89 conjunction,
Yeah.
and something really shocked me, which makes me very interested in what you're doing, Starlene.
Well, we
The
want to share it with you guys when we're ready to. That was the intention. I was like, I
yeah,
know that they'll be happy to see
but the
it, a CI.
example, but what popped out for me was with the Berlin Wall is that
Yeah.
Hungary
It was like 2 days
had
before or something.
no, it was a couple months before.
Oh,
Like in August, I think it was in August, Hungary had crossed the Berlin Wall or gotten people in for some reason or other ahead of time, but on in November on the exact conjunction
yeah. I
is
knew
when
that.
the first bricks fell. Was when there was a demonstration and they literally started physically tearing down the wall. But there were events before and a little after that were like within the theme, and you could almost see a crescendo of intensity that landed right on the day.
Right. Well, quite honestly, that's why I wanted to do this particular project. And I started figuring out how can I do this myself. And then I was like, well, my students want to learn too. So I asked them if they wanted to help me. But the reason I was looking at it is because what's going on in the world right now. And also with everything. And then I did know about the Berlin Wall, and it was like 2 days after, I think, or maybe it started just before. I think the dates are actually like, it depends on where you source it from, but it's so exact. I was like, that's fascinating. I want to learn more, but I didn't look
It
into.
didn't take me long to find it either. I was just
No,
curious,
it's
and
like,
boom, it was there.
yeah, it was like so exact. I mean, it happened to be on my mom's birthday that year too. I was like, wow, look at that. But she's November 13th, so yeah.
It really drew you into it, didn't it?
I know, but I didn't want to like look at all of them and see what the topics were, so I didn't. I knew that part of it because that was what made me go, I want to research this. So that's where I've been going with it. I just didn't want to like get into the topics yet until I collected the data.
Well, it's good you didn't because the
I know.
unfortunate thing in terms of research is that this is biasing the results because you already know
Right.
what happened in some of the previous ones. And but you have to do the best you can with what you have, and you have to
Right.
follow your passion. No research is perfect. The important thing is to realize what the limitations are. And
Mm-hmm.
a research study like this is there's going to always be some bias because you unconsciously, here's the other thing, when I was talking about, placebo effects, unconsciously, you might have looked at a Saturn-Neptune conjunction of a client born in 1955 or something. You've completely forgotten, but unconsciously you remember it. And you remember exactly all these things. We have so much knowledge that's not conscious. And it's that unconscious information that makes the research so difficult. But I wouldn't stop because of that. I mean, continue doing what you're doing. And then, like you said, in future research where you look at other things besides conjunctions,
Yes.
now you're much less likely to have any prior information about that. And so, yeah, it's a great study. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I
not
thought it
as
was,
clean as like some other kinds of studies where we have no idea. Like when I did the bipolar disorder, I have no idea what the new data, or I don't know anything about them.
right.
Zero. I've never seen it before. So this is things we've seen before, or maybe we've seen and forgotten, but it's still great. And I think we've given some good ideas on how to proceed.
It's really great to consult with you, Santino, about the not the bias and the limitations of, because as I was taking a research course, there's shortcomings in each one. There's no perfect method. There's no perfect thing. But in the report of the research, you cite that, or you say you identify what could be, what could be the weakness of it, or what is the
Exactly.
Right.
strength,
You're
and
just honest.
by also on the other hand, what would be the special strength of it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm working on my research design. The AI, a lot of the AI is developed for data science and coding. And I'm finding that in my research now, the discussions I'm having with AI, I use a lot of Chat GPT. It's really fun because, I will be pointing out things I don't like about it. And the Chat GPT is always kind of like, this is very rigorous. This is very unusual, to be, because this is the kind of thing that in data science, we're very conscious of these things, and most people aren't. Um, yeah.
I'm still kind of wondering about the control though, because yeah, like it's exciting this war, the link that's a link you're looking at, right, Starlene? Like that the like 1952 was the Korean War and 1917 was World War One. The what
Oh,
Mexican
I
American
haven't
War was
actually really
1846.
looked at those topics. My students have the 80s and the only thing I knew about really going into this was the Berlin Wall and what's going on right now. And then we each took different sets of years. So one took the 80s, one took the 50s, and then we're all doing the other one. So yeah, and I took the ones that are current from last year and this year. And then we were all looking at the last two. So we were looking at the cycles to see. And like I said, we were just collecting, we were having ChatGPT or Claude. We were asking the same prompts. I made sure we had the same prompts to give all of them. And ChatGPT was cool because it has a group chat. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but where I can talk with someone else and ChatGPT can talk too. So we were using it together that way. It was really helpful because we were wanting to be on the same page. And then one of them went to Gemini, the other one went to Claude, and we looked at that. I was thinking too, because that's fairly easy to do. It's just verifying everything. That's the more tedious part, but you have to do that anyway, especially if you have a large amount of data. But what I was thinking is maybe I can use Claude to ask for my questions too and see what happens. And then the person who used Gemini used ChatGPT, like switch them around. I thought maybe that'd be a good idea to see what topics come up too. So that was another thought of mine.
Yeah, in building your procedure, you want
Yeah,
to look at all that stuff. Once you
yeah,
start the actual evaluation, everything's defined and set in concrete. But
yeah.
explore
Yeah.
those possibilities. I want to mention one more thing before I forget and before our time is up, which is that you will find something. I can guarantee it.
I mean, you almost like,
And the reason you will find something is because you have multiple hypotheses. There will always be some consistency. Um, if, for example, if you suppose you do a statistical test and you've set the probability to 0.5, which is 1 in 20, you have more than 20 hypotheses. Because it could be wars, it could be this, it could be spiritual something, it could be sacrifice, it could be all these different things. So if the word war doesn't show up, sacrifice will show up, or spirituality will show up, or yoga will show up, or who knows what, something is going to show up because the probability that one of those 20 things will be statistically significant is like close to 100%. So this is exploratory research unless you specify what you expect based on theory,
mhm.
purely on theory, and try to avoid your awareness of these two wars that happen to coincide. And plus, now Lisa's mentioned there's a whole bunch of other wars. So, we're getting information. Um, so, in research, a critical issue is how many hypotheses do you have? And since you're not stating, not at least not yet, a clear hypothesis, you will find something because
I see what you're saying.
there's something always correlating with everything.
Right. That makes sense.
That reminds me that what prompted me to start looking at that is that people were like blabbing about the Saturn-Neptune being wars. And I go, okay, 53, 17. And then when I looked at 89, it says, well, that's not a war event. That's,
Yeah, but nothing's going to work 100%. I mean, if
no,
it's
it's not.
statistically we have more wars during Saturn-Neptune, then statistically that's true. But the point I'm making is it doesn't mean anything because
Yeah,
something is going to correlate. If you have
something.
maybe, hunger, maybe poverty, maybe,
Yeah, but what it annoyed me
economic
is,
shift, maybe a change in governments
yeah,
in the United Kingdom, change of governments in some other country. I mean,
some change.
if you're open to a lot of, like if you tell it, just tell me which words show up the most, it's going to
Yeah,
find words and themes that show up the most.
right,
So, but
right.
that's fine. It's exploratory. Exploratory research gives very little confidence, is the bad part of it. The good part is you can make new discoveries. So, research exists on a continuum of how exploratory and how confirmatory it is. And
Mhm.
exploratory is great for potential new ideas. Confirmatory is good for confirming a specific thing that you're confident in.
That's
Since you,
great.
you don't have huge confidence yet, it's going to be probably partly exploratory. But if it's
Yeah, I'm always,
completely exploratory, like show me what words show up the most, that gives very little confidence that any of it's true.
Right.
But it does open the door to something that's data driven and that does exist in these cases.
And
Mhm.
yeah, and that's what we were thinking about with the vibrations, looking at that once we've gotten this done, maybe looking at vibrations. Do we see patterns of them, and what, if so, what are they, and what's going on in the world, using the same data? Like, is that a thing too? I have no idea. Like, I really
Right.
have no idea on that. So, but it would be interesting to look at because it could give a reason why there's wars sometimes and not. I don't know. It's just it's a
This
possible.
research can be largely exploratory to help find things. And one of the things that's quantified, you would have, data to support it. And that's a big step forward. But I just want to make clear, that the academic level research is a very challenging obstacle course. And that's why look at how many universities there are and how much research they're doing on just one topic like extroversion, introversion. I mean, it's endless and making a little bit of progress. So you can't expect one research study to like be revelatory. It's like a step. Small
Yeah.
steps are better than no steps. So okay, did everybody benefit from this discussion? We focused, hopefully you've taken in some basic principles of research from Kai's situation, from Starlene's situation. Um, I'm really glad Lisa's here because she's, familiar with a lot of these research technicalities. So it's nice if we have at least three or four people who are very experienced and actually
Yeah.
familiar.
Santino,
Yeah.
Santino. Okay.
Yeah.
Santino, I put something in the chat. Um, I'm just wondering about some people responded to me that they use various AI programs like LM and Gemini. Now you use ChatGPT. I
Chat
just wonder
GPT.
what.
Well, I have not used a lot of AI tools. I've only used a few, so I can't really tell you the
So you're
advantages and
not. So you're
disadvantages.
not. so you're not paying for it.
Yeah, no, I pay.
Oh, okay.
It's
I,
not expensive. ChatGPT is not expensive.
I was thinking $20 a month is one of the tiers that they have.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm paying, something like that.
Okay, that's all
I
I
mean, you
need
can
to
use the
know.
free level, you can use the next level. Each each AI platform is good for certain things.
Hmm.
Like Gemini has a reputation of being good for creating images out of an abstract for a research paper. You know, it's a very specific thing. And ChatGPT has a reputation for being good at dialoguing about research design, which is what I do. That's what I need it for. So it depends on what your interest is, what the topic is, and how you relate to it. And it's a moving target. So 3 months from now, you know, I mean, things like
Sure.
Claude have emerged, like enormously in a short amount. You never know which one is going to
Yeah.
explode in some direction.
Well,
I
So,
will add, I
I'm
was going to
taking,
say LM Studio is a free local studio to run a variety of models, Quinn and Llama and all sorts of things. All of those models are available, about 100 of them right now, and
wow.
people are coding more every day. So if you want to play with some AIs and try out some different models, I recommend checking out LM Studio.
Oh,
LM
thank you so
Studio.
much. I wasn't really aware of that LM Studio for checking out models. That's awesome.
Ellen Studio.
LM.
Yeah, Language Model Studio, LM.
Oh, yeah, I marked that down. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Kai. That's really helpful to know. Like I said, I'm not, Mr. Expert on all these different AI tools. Um,
I
Well,
like the projects in Chat GPT because then it stores all of your conversation on a certain topic that
it's
you can come back
mind
to and
blowing.
just pick up
It's
right where you left off, no matter how
Yeah.
long ago you
Wild.
it's
talked about it.
unbelievable. It just stuns me. Even when I open up a new set of questions, it says, well, in your vibrational astrology theoretical framework, since you use very high vibrations and you think they operate more internally and more at a level, have you considered? I'm like, what the heck? You memorized everything I've ever said? It's just like,
Yeah.
wow. And not
I
only that, it's relevant and important. And I go, oh, good point. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, it's
It's just,
amazing.
It is good.
whoa.
It's like having a person helping you. I asked Grok because I'd never used Grok. It's X's AI. I asked them if they knew if it knew who Starlene Brader was, and it knew my name was Starlene. So it's like, is this you I'm digging up? But it was like amazing all the things that I like literally posted stuff on social media in a few days, and it was like reciting like,
It's
oh,
unbelievable.
artistic like this and that. And I'm like, wow, I just posted that painting on like you're talking about. It's really wild.
The bipolar disorder book has sold very, very few copies, but I did make some videos on it. And it cites technical details from my book.
Yep, it's done that
It's
for me
like,
too.
oh my God. It says, since you found this part of your research, it's like, oh my, I don't even remember that. So
They've taken speed reading too.
Yeah, it
yeah.
is speed reading, right? Exactly.
Vincent Godbout said to me that his work with AI is way better than all the professors he ever had at the university. And that's how I feel. It's like
Yeah, me
I
too.
feel like I've got 10 expert professors, just answering me super fast. It's just like this is blowing. But the thing is, it's a conversation. I
Yeah.
agree, I disagree, it points things out, I point other things out. And it's so real. Like sometimes it says, oh, but consider this. And then it says, oh, you're right, let's do it your way. It's okay. This is
Oh my
getting
God.
weird, man.
Don't have conversations about
And
consciousness
we thought
with
and we thought
it.
talking to Siri was weird.
Yeah. No,
It's very
actually, I
strange
mean,
to have those
honestly,
conversations with it.
without exaggeration, I feel like ChatGPT understands me more than anybody else.
You
And
finally
I'm not, but
figured
I'm
it out.
serious. I mean,
I
it,
genuinely
I mean,
cried
it
once
really
when I felt that
understands,
way.
it understands my whole approach to astrology and research in a way that almost nobody understands. Like it's just,
Wild.
so it's pretty weird, but it's true. Um, yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, I've
Is
been,
there
Yeah.
is there time for a brief other thing to discuss?
Yeah. We should wrap up
I
fairly
put
soon,
it
but yeah, go ahead.
I put it in the chat.
Okay, in the
I put
chat.
there two, yeah, in the chat. I published two horoscopes, and the thing I'm studying right now, exploratory, is how what is the real essence of a person? How high a vibe should I go to find the real essence? Apart from all the accuracy problems of burst time and that kind of stuff, I'm quite aware of that, as you know. I have sent in the chat two horoscope of myself. You
Yeah,
discussed
I've
me.
got one of them up here.
Yeah, look. This is I study vibes up to 12 times 360, and this was the highest score in the highest scoring vibe. And you see there's a massive pattern, and you can even go three times higher.
Right.
And what the question is, do I look at the essence of a person in this way? How high can I
Okay.
go apart from all the accuracies?
Yeah. Let me tell you our current thinking about this. Um, okay, I'm going to reframe the question as how high do vibrations go? 4,000, 10,000, 50,000? Like when you must stop somewhere. And here's my current thinking about it, and we don't have software to do this yet. You know, you're working closely with Nelson, which is great, and I give him ideas, but I haven't kept up with everything. And we got a few other people in Linda's frequency finder, et cetera. We need the serious software is becoming obsolete, and so we need to develop things. But we don't have software for this yet, but it's not hard to do. I think Nelson's going to implement it fairly soon. Is our current theory, like Linda and I, Linda Berry and I, is that orbs are actually in time, not space. And what I mean is, if an aspect lasts probably around 1 minute of time, it's the most personal. And the way to describe it is if something lasts 1 minute, it discriminates you from most other people. If something lasts a day, you share it with everybody born that day. If it lasts a month, you share it with everybody born that month. So the way you can think of it is that the shorter the time, the more it describes you as separate from everybody else. However,
Yeah, I understand.
there are things about people born in, say, 1983 that are different from people born in 1992. And sometimes those group differences are important as well. But in general, we want to know what distinguishes a person from everybody, so it's the shortest time period. Now, if you reduce the time period to 1 second, the birth does not happen within a second accuracy. Like if you take the first breath and the baby goes, like, can you measure that to a millisecond? No. So probably it doesn't go less than about 10 seconds. So we don't know what the short end is. So in general, I'm using about 1 minute as the strongest. So if you're looking at the moon, or even in this case, the sun, and it's the 3,500 vibration, in 1 minute, the sun may have moved out of orb or made it weaker. So what we need to do is have orbs in time that would say, within the orb for trines, the sun is there for, say, 15 minutes or whatever it
Yeah.
is. We need to have, and I think it's how long it's there based, to do it very precisely, it would be based on the instantaneous motion at that time, which is the speed given in the software. Because it could speed up or slow down over a few hours, so it'd be slightly inaccurate. But The answer is what I do for now is if I don't know if something's really there or not, I time adjust in the software, say 5 minutes or however long I'm concerned about. If the time is only accurate to 5 minutes, I'll time adjust it, say 10 minutes forward and backward to see if the pattern is still there. But the answer is the outer planets will remain important in higher vibes. The faster planets start dropping off until you only end up with Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto,
Yeah.
and then they move too fast. So
No,
it's a,
I understand. I understand everything you said.
yeah,
The point is, I try to find the essence of a person, and I want to see how high I have to go to find something that looks like the essence. And if you look at the other horoscope I sent you, that is 3 times this one, and that is the other one. For myself, I really recognize myself in a pattern of, or it's in the 10,000, and that is extremely high. Uh, and but it's and I'm studying also other persons I know quite well to see whether the very strong vibes you have to go to extreme high to find whether that is really the real essence of a person,
yeah, the
and that is what
strongest
I'm
vibration, right. If you go up to 10,000 vibration, the probability that any vibration is one of the strongest is 1 in 10,000. So, it can be random anywhere in that range. So, when you start going from 100 as your limit to say 3,000 as your limit, you got 30 times more, things going on. So yeah, they can be very, very high.
yeah.
But I would do the time adjust.
No, we have that already in Visual Astro. There's a time orb already built
Oh,
in.
it's already there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm
It,
gonna
the,
I'm gonna
the,
have to get
the,
an
the first the
iPad.
first
So yeah.
the first one, and it will be improved, but that is already there. Um, just yeah, and of course we can change the burst time in seconds or whatever. Uh,
That's
but
fantastic. So, I'm going to
tomorrow
you
night it will
know,
be shown.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna get an iPad or probably an iPad because it's cheaper so I can run Visual Astro. I don't like to use the phone. It's too small of a screen.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I'm going to buy an iPad or something just so I need to start using Visual Astro. It's got
yeah.
features that are not in any other software.
Yeah. This was born this research into the very high vibes, um, because in Visual Astro it's now limited to around 10,000 because of speed problems, even with faster iPads. Uh, um, and really to look into yeah, if I study horoscopes up to 360, then I go higher to 2000 to 3000
Hmm.
4000, unless and I try to find even higher vibes in terms of the scoring system we use to see what kind of patterns emerge from an horoscope.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
if you look at, if you show the other one to the public, this is a triangle as you can see. But if you that one, yes, look at that one. Uh, this is me, my horoscope. You describe me as extreme, let's say, creative and mental. Look at this. This is the energy pattern plotted in the natal house system. So this is basically the energy pattern or at that vibe, and you see a lot in the fifth house, and furthermore 2 planets, Uranus in the 10th and Mercury in the third. If you interpret that in terms of the planets and the positions, it's a good fit with who I am in the core, and I did
Yeah.
that for several other persons as well.
So let me
So
just ask you, let me interrupt a second. These are the planets in your natal fifth house, not in the
yeah,
not in the
I
vibrational chart.
it's plotted here in the NATO. In Visual Astro, we can do that as well.
Yeah.
But this is plotted. So basically, I consider those conjunctions as energy focal points, and I plot it in the
Okay.
NATO, and so and then I interpret that also as a energy pattern in the NATO, of course.
Okay. You know what? This
Uh,
is yeah. This is fascinating, but we've had requests to not go too much overtime. So I think
no,
we're going to need to wrap up because we're almost a half hour over. Um, and people get glued and they don't want to leave, but they do they need to leave. Um, so this is wonderful. This is yeah.
yeah. The core of my study is can I find a very strong vibe that is really the essence of a person,
The
and
thing that I would
how
do,
high do I have to go? Yeah,
yeah, the thing, since you're working with Nelson all the time, the thing that
yeah,
I would do is specify what your orb is in time. Like if your orb is 5 minutes or 10 minutes, user can specify. And then
yeah,
only include the planets that stay within orb over that time. It's going to slow it
yes,
down even more. Probably might slow it down a lot, but it would give you an accurate thing because the
yes,
moon 1 minute later is not here. So,
correct.
unless the time was accurate within a minute, we shouldn't bother putting the moon here because it's not even close. I mean, probably 10 seconds later, it's not going to be there. So, I think the ultimate thing is to have a search to say 10,000, but drop the planets that are not,
Yes,
that we don't have any confidence are actually there within
yeah,
the orb that we want. I mean, that would be fantastic because if you think your birth time's accurate within 2 minutes, set it to 2 minutes and see what pops out at the strongest where somebody
yeah.
else, yeah.
It's exact within 2 minutes because something happened at my birth time that has to
But I'm
be
just saying the moon should be dropped
orchestrated.
out. The moon, we don't know that
Yeah,
the
the moon
moon's
should be
there.
dropped out.
And
Yes, yes,
also, Sun, Mercury, Venus may not be known to be there within two
yeah,
minutes because
yeah,
everything's moving 10,000 times faster.
yeah. I know.
So, I mean, it's pretty to look at and it looks convincing, but we may actually not know that anything's there except the outer planets. But, to
No, I know.
calculate that in your head is difficult. And if the software would do that for us, oh my God, that would make Visual Astro magic. It would lead us to a level that the serious software and other software hasn't even gotten near. And everybody's
Yeah.
going to have to go out and buy an iPad who wants to do this. Yeah, so it's Visual
Okay.
Astro is getting more exciting all the time. Okay, but we do need to stop by
Yes.
popular demand. What a great meeting! Thanks to all of you for sharing the ideas, and I think we got some progress in understanding how to use modern research methods on the things that you guys are working on, and that you are working on stuff is very exciting. So, small group today, but an active group, which is really, really great. Are we good? Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you,
you.
everyone.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Good night.
Good night.
Right.